Hello! I hope you guys did enjoy my last video and are having a great time on my channel. For this episode, I will make a part 2 about the best fights in anime, but let's talk about it in the end. I am definitely sure that you will love it. Only a few TV episodes, movies, novels, or cartoons can be described as life-changing, masterpieces that change the way you see yourself and the world, or teach you something you didn't know before. These are animes you will never forget. Number 10. Akira. When Katsuhiro Otomo's anime masterpiece Akira was released in 1988, it impacted a lot of people's lives, mostly because they had no concept that animation could be utilized for anything other than children's pleasure until seeing it. This story of Neo-Tokyo teenagers who run afoul of a militarized government and a secret experiment to activate telekinetic skills may have lost its shock value, but it hasn't lost its power. Akira's story of how modern society disenfranchises and co-opts youth into its flaws and machinations is universal while being set in Japan. Number 9. Nausica of the Valley of Wind. Hayao Miyazaki aspired to be a manga artist as a child. However, after becoming the most well-known anime director, he only chose to adapt one of his writings into manga, Nausica of the Valley of Wind. The post-apocalyptic fiction is set in a world that has been so destroyed by conflict that nature has risen up and created huge bugs known as Omu to begin the laborious process of cleansing the globe while humanity's remains descend into another slow, torturous spiral into war. Nausica isn't so much a love letter to nature as it is Miyazaki's apology for man's folly, destruction, and blindness, though it does retain enough optimism to hope that we will understand our errors before it's too late. Number 8. Neon Genesis Evangelion. A creative and daring reimagining of the huge robot genre. An investigation into the id, ego, and superego. A vast examination of Freudian psychology, Kabbalism, and the soul's nature. It may be more straightforward to explain what Evangelion isn't about. Despite decades of the most obscene commercialization, Hideaki Anno's anime classic continues to echo with audiences of all ages and from all walks of life due to its primordial storytelling force. Evangelion cannot be watched without being affected in some way, whether you accept the optimistic but disturbing self-actualization presented at the end of the TV series or the film's far more nihilistic finish. Number 7. My Neighbor Totoro. Although Miyazaki received an Academy Award for Spirited Away, his greatest masterpiece may be My Neighbor Totoro. Totoro is a deceptively simple story about two young sisters who relocate to the countryside and discover a magical world full of huge dust bunnies, cat buses, and more. Totoro understands how children perceive the world and delivers it with just the right mix of delight, wonder, and mystery. It's difficult to watch My Neighbor Totoro and not remember how it felt to be truly young, and it's impossible to watch the movie and not be entranced if you're already young. After that, you'll want at least one stuffed Totoro. Number 6. Ghost in the Shell. Masamune Shirow's cyber police adventure, Ghost in the Shell, was barely regarded as a classic when it was first released in 1989. But thanks to Masamune Shirow's gloomy, some may say dour, psychedelic, magnificent 1995 film version, Ghost in the Shell has become one of anime's most successful franchises. Whereas Shirow's manga focused on how technology and the internet will affect crime, Oshii utilized cyborg protagonist Motoko Kusanagi to explore the meaning of life and consciousness in a world where the virtual was as real as the real. Countless imitators, particularly in anime, have followed in the footsteps of Ghost in the Shell, but none have had the same impact or lasted as long as the original. Number 5. Macross Robotech. Whether you prefer the original Japanese anime Superdimensional Fortress Macross or Robotech, the Americanized adaptation based on it and two other anime series, the Macross saga is unquestionably one of the greatest love stories of the 20th century. Only Macross is willing to show love in all of its aspects, including how it causes joy, pain, sadness, and insanity. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Love is what makes Lisa Hayes, the commander of the galaxy's most powerful spaceship, wash the underwear of a lowly Veritech pilot named Rick Hunter while he's chasing after an underage Chinese pop star named Minmay, who torments Rick mercilessly while pining for her cousin Lynn Kyle, who throws gin bottles at her. That, people, is love. And Robotech taught an entire generation about the complexities of love, even though we were all still impotent in the face of it. Number 4. FLCL. Strange, surreal, and bizarre are only a few words to describe FLCL. Kazuya Tsurumaki produced this 6-episode OVA series by combining everything he felt was cool into a single anime: baseball, bass guitars, Vespa, robots, and the Japanese rock band The Pillows. But what he did produce was one of the all-time great coming-of-age stories, as 12-year-old Naota contends with the violent advent of an alien lady named Haruko in his life and huge robots sprouting from his forehead. FLCL isn't particularly subtle, but that doesn't make it any less compelling or enjoyable, as Naota navigates the confusion, danger, and exhilaration of growing up through robot combat, girl woes, and Haruko's base. Also, it's quite cool. Number 3. Serial Experiments Lane. Lane appears to tread where Ghost in the Shell does, about the interplay between mind and technology in a world where humanity is connected by a virtual network called The Wired, and is more experimental and surreal than most of the anime on this list. Lane, on the other hand, is more interested in how communication and perception shape her identity, whether it's how she sees herself or how others see her. In The Wired, there are numerous lanes, each representing a different facet of her personality and not all working for her. Yet, Lane's sense of self is influenced by what and how she presents herself to others, as well as how she connects with them. Lane eventually realizes her ability to manipulate reality in The Wired and effectively erases all memories of herself. Yes, Lane is troubled, but it just adds to the show's investigation of self, loneliness, and perception. Number 2. Grave of the Fireflies. There have been numerous films on war, including the cost of the war to those who fight in it, the cost soldiers pay when they return home, and the cost to their loved ones. But no film has ever succeeded to convey the true cost of war to the absolutely defenseless, in this case, a 14-year-old boy named Seita and his younger sister Seita, who starved to death as a result of World War II and the conduct of both sides in the battle. The Grave is arguably one of the saddest films ever filmed, as it follows these children as they lose their mother, are disregarded by relatives and other adults more concerned with their own well-being, and eventually die prematurely. It's the actual tragedy of war, depicted unequivocally and with no other goal in mind but to make the viewer experience the suffering and loss in the hopes that it will never happen again. Number 1. Perfect Blue. The late Satoshi Kon's work focuses on the nature of truth and fiction, as well as the thin line that separates them. Perfect Blue, the director's first picture, does it in a more subtle manner than his later works, creating an extraordinary masterpiece that could have easily been filmed in live action. Perfect Blue is a 1997 film about a pop singer named Mima who decides to pursue a career as an actor. But a sequence of killings in which she looks to be the lead suspect, murders that mirror the film she's acting in, causes her to lose her grip on reality. As Mima struggles to figure out what is real life, what is a movie, and what she has or has not done, it's the Hitchcock picker that Alfred Hitchcock never produced. The film is actually more compelling as a result of its refusal to use animation's possibilities in favor of being realistic. It appears both more and less weird as a result, boosting the themes. It's also a fantastically engaging thriller. So guys, I do hope you enjoyed the episode and learned something new. Did you know that we will launch a Twitter page soon? So that everyone can enjoy the MS Top 10 community. By the way, if you want to support us, we would appreciate it if you follow us on Twitter. And about the part 2 that I mentioned earlier, I will show you the 10 biggest clashes in anime history. Have you already seen one? Let us know in the comments and compare it in the next episode.